All right, let's travel back in time. Our story today, it doesn't start with a big battle or a famous king.
Nope.
It all begins with a map, a really mysterious, kind of strange drawing that would end up sparking this massive transformation right in the heart of Africa, literally rewriting the destiny of an entire nation. And that's really the big question we're tackling, isn't it? How on earth could a map, one that kind of looked like a slug, set off a chain reaction that would change a kingdom forever? Well, let's dive in and find out.
So, our first act kicks off with this map. And you have to understand, it wasn't really a proper map. It was more like a rumor that someone tried to draw. But that was enough. It was enough to light this fire of curiosity all across Europe about this powerful, totally unknown kingdom hidden somewhere deep inside Africa.
So the origin of this map is just fascinating. You've got these German missionaries, Krapf, Rebmann, and Erhard, stationed out near Mombasa. And they start hearing these incredible stories from Arab traders about a giant inland sea, a lake so massive it supposedly took 100 days to get across. So what do? They piece all these tales together and draw what they heard, which ended up looking like a giant slug. And back in Europe, the professional geographers, they were like, no way, this can't be real. But the mystery, oh, it was just too good to ignore.
Okay, so that spark of curiosity, it became an absolute inferno because of this man, the famous explorer H.M. Stanley. He actually makes it to the kingdom of Uganda, and from there he sends this incredibly passionate letter to the Daily Telegraph. And this was not your average travel report, not at all. It was a plea. He's describing this powerful king, Mutesa, and a people he believes are ready for something totally new. And when that letter got published, all of Europe was listening.
And the response? It was unbelievably fast. I mean, get this, in just 8 days, Stanley's letter inspires a massive donation and gets the official green light for a mission. Just like that. And within 5 months, the very first group of volunteers, we're talking engineers, doctors, clergy, they're on a ship sailing to a country they've only ever heard stories about.
Now, among those volunteers was a young Scottish engineer named Alexander Mackay, and his farewell words, honestly, they were chillingly prophetic. He knew exactly how dangerous this 700-mile journey was going to be. We're talking swamps, deserts, hostile territories, the whole deal. He knew some of them weren't going to make it back. It just shows you the kind of conviction that was driving these people into the complete unknown.
And, well, the journey was every bit as brutal as they feared. Mackay's prophecy tragically came true. Several members of the party died on the way. But eventually, 2 survivors did make it. They finally arrived in Uganda, and that led to this absolutely pivotal first meeting with the kingdom's powerful ruler.
So, imagine the scene. They've gone through all the formal greetings at the royal court. Then, King Mutesa pulls the 2 missionaries, Lieutenant Smith and Reverend Wilson, aside. He has one urgent question for them, and he wants to ask it in private. He doesn't ask about guns, he doesn't ask about trade, he asks them this: have you brought the book? See, his curiosity wasn't about earthly power, it was about knowledge, and it was about faith.
And that single question, it sparked an absolute revolution. The book arrives. But that means the missionaries have to figure out how to create a written alphabet for the local language, Luganda. So they get a small, hand-cranked printing press and start churning out reading sheets. And for the Baganda people, who turned out to be incredibly quick learners, this was about so much more than just faith. It was about empowerment. It was this sudden, powerful access to new ideas, and for the first time, a written record of their very own language.
And pretty soon, the first converts started to appear. But we're not just talking about numbers on a page. These were deeply personal stories. There was a young man named Sambera who was so shy he couldn't even ask out loud. Instead, he passed Mackay a little handwritten note asking to be baptized. Then there's the story of Dumalira, who was on his deathbed and begged his friend, who wasn't even a believer, to just sprinkle water on him in the name of the new faith he had embraced.
But this incredible time of curiosity and learning, it was about to take a very dark turn. King Mutesa died, and a new king took the throne. And almost overnight, that atmosphere of welcome turned into one of brutal, violent persecution.
Mutesa's son Mwanga was young, he was unpredictable, and he was deeply suspicious of these newcomers. His advisors were whispering in his ear, telling him the missionaries were going to eat up the land. So he looked at this growing community of readers, and he didn't see people exploring a new faith. No, he saw a direct threat to his power, and he decided he was going to wipe it out with force.
The persecution was swift and it was horrific. In what became one of the most infamous moments of his rule, 32 of the new converts were captured. They were condemned and then marched off together to be executed.
But what happened next became the stuff of legend. As they were being burned alive, these young converts started to sing. They sang a Christian hymn. Can you imagine? Their courage, their faith in the face of that kind of agony, it was just this incredible act of defiance. And the stories say that it was a moment that deeply, deeply shook even the men who were executing them.
And the terror wasn't just limited to the Baganda people. King Mwanga got paranoid about an invasion from the east, so he ordered the capture of the very first Anglican bishop to the area, a man named James Hannington, who was just trying to find a new way into the country. Right before he was killed, Hannington sent this powerful last message to the king, basically turning his own death into a cornerstone for the very thing Mwanga was trying to destroy.
So, Mwanga's whole plan was to extinguish this new faith with violence. But here's the incredible irony. It had the exact opposite effect. The persecution didn't destroy the church. It just drove it underground. And down there, in secret, it became stronger and more resilient than ever before. The whole movement just adapted to survive. Believers started meeting in secret, often in the dead of night. Those little gospels printed on Mackay's press were passed from hand to hand in the shadows. Secret night schools popped up to keep the reading lessons going. And the stories of the martyrs? Instead of scaring people away, they actually inspired new believers. And maybe most importantly, local Baganda leaders stepped up to guide the community. They were forging a church that didn't need outsiders anymore. It was truly becoming their own.
So, what was the end result of this whole incredible, tumultuous story? Well, it all unfolded in the span of a single generation. From the moment those first missionaries arrived to the dawn of the 20th century, the Kingdom of Uganda was changed profoundly and permanently. I mean, the scale of the change is just staggering. Before, you had a nation with no written language. Afterwards, they had the Bible translated into their own tongue. Before, widespread spirit worship. After, 30,000 Christians. Before, an active slave trade. Afterwards, the local chiefs themselves issued a decree abolishing domestic slavery. This was a total shift in the fabric of their society. And you know, nothing captures the spirit of this transformation better than one single word, reader. In Uganda, if you became a Christian, you were called a reader. The two words meant the same thing. That just shows you how deeply connected the hunger for literacy was with the exploration of faith. Being able to read, it wasn't just a key to a new spiritual world. It was a key to a new world of knowledge, of personal agency. The book was everything.
Remember Alexander Mackay, the young engineer from the beginning, the one who had that chilling premonition about the dangers? Well, he survived for 14 years in Africa before he finally died of a fever. This quote here was part of his final message. It's a call not for conquest, not for building a bigger church, but for simple human connection, person to person. And I think that just perfectly captures the spirit that drove this whole incredible, improbable story.
So we started this whole journey with a crude hand-drawn map. Really, just a rumor about a lake that somehow set in motion this epic story of faith and bloodshed and ultimately rebirth. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What are the ideas, the beliefs, the stories that are drawing the lines on our maps today, and what kind of transformations will they set in motion for the next generation?